Chapter 808, Hot Spring Bath. The Yanlu group obeys Zhang Yi's orders to assemble by nationality. Zhang Yi's subordinates form a line at the gangway, but Zhu Yong's friends begin ribbing her. If Huashu people get priority, should they all rush up claiming Huashu heritage? Zhang Yi coldly orders the crowd aside, promising to handle it later. When some men impersonate Huashu accents and beg entry, Zhang Yi shoots one man dead with a single bullet. Seeing terrified onlookers scatter, Zhang Yi advances. Moved by a crying blonde woman who begs rescue, others grovel and plead, but Zhang Yi remains unmoved, his eyes only on getting the Yanlu group safely aboard. Meanwhile, his crew retrieves the hot springs found under the cave. Zhang Yi spares 2 sailors to guard the cave while he takes Xu Yonk and Zhou Qiu to bathe. The warm pools and steam lift their spirits. Zhou Qiu, excited, explains the spring's legendary health and beauty benefits for women. As they soak, Zhang Yi fondly recalls happier days visiting hot springs with college friends, all now dead in the apocalypse. For a moment he relaxes, saving Zhou Qiu from cold, stroking her shoulder as nature's fury rages outside. Half an hour later, Zhang Yi finishes the soak and calls Xu Yonk to leave. When Zhu emerges with a dazed, flushed face, Zhang Yi only remarks nonchalantly on perverts who would have taken advantage if he hadn't been vigilant. Xu Yonk is left seething at Zhang Yi's indifference as they meet the Yanlu group waiting below. Sun Wanqi excitedly runs forward. Senior, remember me? Joyously reuniting with her old college roommate Xu Yonk. They exchange shocked delight at this coincidence. Both attended MIT. As the Yanlu group admires Xu Yonk's role in their rescue, Zhang Yi orders a headcount. Satisfied with their number, he quietly tells them the ship's rules once more. Chapter 809, Xiao Zhang, I have to criticize you. Add 1, on the ship's deck, Zhang Yi formally reviews the Jinfeng's strict rules with the Yanlu refugees. He promises to allocate ample food and fresh water for their voyage if they follow orders without question. He explicitly prohibits any troublemaking, even joking that the slightest offender will be thrown into the ICC. The refugees are horrified, some call this Huashu rescue not humane and grumble. Xu Yonk urges Zhang Yi to appear kinder, but he only grins and lets the Yanlu people stew. Then he offers them a choice: anyone who finds his methods intolerable can disembark now. No one dares leave, no rescue ship remains. Reluctantly, the entire group hands over their hidden guns, knives, even nail clippers. Li Zongyu quietly assuages them. Huashu is saving them, not abandoning them. After the collection, Zhang Yi and his crew store 12 confiscated rifles and a modest cache of ammo and blades on the deck. Che Haicheng, Silla official, bows deeply to Zhang Yi, shouting, "Your life belongs to you, sir." Zhang Yi shrugs off this absurd flattery, knowing such clinging is typical of the well-to-do. When Che and friends start exalting Zhang as the angel who saved them, others on deck whisper in disgust, but some quickly follow suit, flattery selling for survival. Zhang Yi ignores these theatrics. Before departure he double-checks that all Yanlu survivors are aboard. Li Zongyu confirms everyone except a handful of Colombians, who stubbornly refuse to leave with the Huashu ship. Zhang Yi gives a curt farewell to the group. If you don't want to go, that's fine, I respect your choice. Then, as planned, 2 Jinfeng sailors silently slip back to the cave. Immediately the Yanlu group hears muffled gunshots and realizes Zhang Yi's men executed the remaining dissenters. Ma Wenjiang, suspecting the fate of the Colombians, nearly shakes his head in resignation as the Jinfeng sets sail toward Yanlu Island's docks. Chapter 810, Food Factory. As the Jinfeng lands, Xu Yonk confronts Sun Wanqi on deck. Sun Wanqi blames Zhang Yi's actions on her own humanitarian ideals, not national origin, but Zhang Yi coldly mocks her privilege. Xu whispers to Zhang Yi not to argue with Su, whom she calls naive and spoiled. Zhang Yi snaps at Su, I hate people who preach without knowing suffering. Sun Wanqi lectures that she's volunteered for African orphans, implying Huashu people are selfish. This enrages the Yanlu Huashu and overseas Chinese. Li Zongyu's girlfriend Zhang Weiwei scolds her to stop stereotyping. Unfazed, Zhang Yi calls her out. Su's parents sent her to study abroad, but she now tells others to help the needy here? He declares he is not going to be Kunbi, i.e. play savior. Without waiting for more, Zhang Yi changes course away from the port. Li Zongyu asks if they are looting Baocha's camp for supplies. Indeed, Zhang Yi heads to the gang's stronghold. On the way, Sun Wanqi's temper flares. She taunts Huashu's failings and suggests her foreign home is better. Zhang Yi ignores her, silently anticipating what lies ahead. They reach the villain's hidden camp, an open cavern of horrors. Everywhere are rotting corpses, human bones and pools of blood, and an immense chopping block spattered with human flesh. One of Zhang Yi's crew bears his eyes at the shock, but Zhang Yi, immune, dons a mask and invites the others to look inside. Li Zhongyu urges them on, presumably the gang's food stores are within. Sun Wanqi, however, holds her nose and screams for Zhang Yi to do it himself. Irritated, Zhang Yi strides forward and snatches Sun Wanqi's long ponytail roughly, making her shriek in agony. He mockingly reminds her of her own compassion talk. "Didn't you just tell me to be kind and generous?" as her wails fill the air. Chapter 8:11 Refugees. The dark cave smell and the hanging bodies prove too much for Sun Wanqi. She faints dead away. Other foreigners vomit or scream. Li Zhongyu defends Zhang Yi. "We are human, not animals, we would never eat that," he shouts at Zhang Yi. Xu Weiwei angrily adds that as refugees they'd initially lived off abundant hotel stores and cooked turtles, a local high survival species. Zhang Yi grimly notes the tropic seas are now frozen, probably no fish left in these waters. When Li angrily recalls surviving on turtle soup, Zhang Yi quips, "Was the turtle soup good?" leading Li to admit it was filling but tasteless. Clearly, Yanlu Island's residents have endured extreme hunger. Alone with the cave's terror, Zhang Yi coldly reflects this lesson. He brought them here precisely so Su would shut up and to warn others against complacency. Zhu Yonk, outside, vomits in sympathy. She curses Zhang Yi for exposing her and others to the score. Zhang Yi, however, is unfazed. He has seen even worse in Tianhai. He considers abandoning Su here for her cowardice, but realizes Zhu Zhang would be furious if anyone died needlessly. Thus he orders 2 Yanlu men to carry the unconscious Su back to the Jin Feng. On the way to the port, they pass shallow mounds of freshly broken corpses, the Colombians Zhang Yi executed. Ma Wenzheng quietly asks how they all died. Zhang Yi simply replies, "I killed them." Che Haicheng applauds, they had ulterior motives, and calls Zhang Yi heroic. Sun Wanqi, recovering but terrified, clings to Zhu Yong for comfort. Finally reaching the docks, Zhang Yi finds thousands of new refugees crowding the quayside. Many have rushed in from elsewhere now that the port is free. Old Tian arms every sailor with a submachine gun to guard the ship and tell newcomers to stay back. Overwhelmed, the harassed defenders even fire warning shots as attempted stowaways scream that "our captain isn't here." Golden pleading flood the deck, billionaires offer bribes and relatives official positions, women clutch children begging priority passage. Xu Yonk watches helplessly. Zhang Yi quietly observes, tropical resorts attract the rich, who never expected to starve. He draws an old proverb about starving during famine to imply that desperate times call desperate measures. Drilling into the crowd to reclaim their boat space, Zhang Yi fires a warning shot into the sky, and a path clears as truly desperate refugees beg at his feet. Several Huashu natives, identifying themselves with dialect and singing the anthem, plead for Zhang Yi's mercy, but the foreigners bristle at this national favoritism. Chapter 8:12 My rules are rules. The crowd insists that Zhang Yi must promise rescue before they stand down. Many foreigners claim Huashu ties to sneak on board. One blonde man even argues by Huashu's constitution that he has the right to be rescued. When 2 of them suddenly draw guns and shoot at Zhang Yi, he blocks effortlessly. The shots were like drops in the ocean, then returns fire with 2 precise pistol shots. One criminal from the crowd is killed instantly. The surviving refugees finally cower. Seeing their panic, Zhang Yi orders everyone to clear a path, and he leads the grateful Yanlu group forward through the kneeling crowd. Only then does he issue a radical decree: only those confirmed as Huashu citizens will board. The crowd erupts. Huashu-born refugees cheer. Huashu people must help each other, but the many foreign evacuees howl not fair. Even Bayamo, the blonde man, panics and begs to be counted as Huashu, offering any proof. Zhang Yi tells them austerely that fairness is irrelevant here. If they had truly been loyal, their own nations would have saved them. The island's non-Huashu survivors become hostile and begin to mob the retreating Yanlu group. As chaos erupts, Zhang Yi and his crew prepare to fire on any who attack the Yanlu team. The Yanlu Huashu nationals are ushered safely aboard by Zhou Qier and the crew while the other refugees scramble away in panic. Thus Zhang Yi completes his rescue. All willing Huashu citizens are saved, while others are forcibly left behind in the island's frozen hell. Chapters 813 to 822. Chapter 813, Screening, Ad 1. On the rescue ship, Zhu Yonk and her companion Sun Wanqi confront Captain Zhang Yi over unequal treatment. Shu demands that Zhang raise Sun Wanqi's privileges to match her own, citing that Su was her junior sister. Zhang Yi feigns agreement but instead cleverly downgrades Zhu's own provisions, forcing Zhu to endure the same restrictions she imposed on Su. Sun Wanqi is delighted, thinking Zhang has helped her, while Zhu is shocked to find her own food and sleeping standards lowered. The episode highlights Zhang Yi's cold pragmatism and Zhu's naivety. Zhu had aggressively claimed moral high ground, but Zhang's stunt publicly humiliates her and underscores his authority. By the end, Zhu Yonk is silenced, chastened that her demands resulted in her own loss of status, and Zhang silently asserts that compassion will not be indulged without sacrifice. Chapter 814, Black Dragon is also a dragon. A new conflict erupts during passenger screening at the port. A Huashu country woman attempts to bring her biracial son aboard, insisting they are both Huashu nationals. Old Tian and Zhang Yi sternly refuse because the child's dark skin betrays his foreign parentage. The woman protests, revealing the child's father, Morian, but the crowd of Huashu survivors angrily rebukes her husband, spitting out that they share no blood relationship. Heartbreaking irony ensues as the boy, Chocolate, proudly recites a patriotic pledge: black dragons are also dragons, to prove his loyalty. Some bystanders take his side, but many resent the unusual situation. Zhang Yi coolly ejects the family, declaring his ship will admit anyone I want. This scene exposes deep prejudices. Even in the apocalypse, not all Huashu refugees accept mixed-race legitimacy, and Zhang Yi remains unwaveringly pragmatic, enforcing strict nationality rules over popular sentiment. Chapter 815. You are noble, you are amazing. Still at the port, rescue survivors begin pleading with Zhang Yi to save a sickly infant left ashore. A grieving mother entreats him, reminding Zhang of past tragedies, including a child who froze to death under his watch, but Zhang coldly refuses to rescue the baby, citing scarce resources. The crowd erupts in outrage. Even Zhu Yonk and Sun Wanqi join cries of "Children are our future," appalled by Zhang's ruthless logic. Zhu passionately demands Zhang save this child if he would claim to rescue others. Zhang Yi mockingly points out how many children the ship could have admitted if the boarding position were sacrificed for them. Ultimately, none volunteer and Zhang Yi stands firm, revealing his utilitarian calculus, his cargo priority over sentiment. The chapter underscores Zhang's moral harshness and Zhu's protective instincts. Zhu's bold defense of the orphan infant further contrasts Zhang's willingness to let a child die to save resources. Chapter 816, Port People. After boarding is complete, the full cost of Zhang's policy emerges. A group of Huashu survivors with children beg others to give up their spots so the children can board. Morian, the foreign father, is forcibly pushed into the sea by enraged compatriots. One by one, no one volunteers. A loudmouth, Joandy, even rescinds his prior "I'll take care of the kids" bravado once threatened. Zhang Yi dispassionately gloats at their hypocrisy. He reminds everyone that anyone willing to forego their rescue spot for a child would be allowed on, but none step forward. Seething survivors witness Joandy groveling for forgiveness after Zhang throws him overboard. Ultimately, Zhu Yonk ends up caring for the ship's lone infant by herself. Watching the selfish priorities of others, Zhang Yi concludes by lecturing Zhu that in the post-apocalyptic world, ordinary people are not to be trusted or indulged. Zhu cradles the baby in stunned silence while Zhang internally notes that her kindness will soon teach her a harsh lesson, foreshadowing Zhu's inevitable suffering for her naivete. Chapter 817, Bravely Take Responsibility, Ad 1. The ship sets sail with over 200 rescued passengers, former Yanlu survivors. Zhang Yi flatly delegates crowd management to Lao Tian, insisting he pack up troublemakers with bullets if needed. Relieved, Lao Tian gleefully readies heavy weapons. When desperate stowaways from below attempt to climb aboard, Tian opens fire from the railing. Bodies splash into the sea as illegals fall. Hull cameras record blood rain drenching the decks. The upper cabin survivors, the Yanlu group, overhear gunfire. By Mo and others shudder, suddenly realizing Zhang Yi will not hesitate to kill as needed. Fearful murmurs spread. They kill like animals. Will they do this to us? Che Haicheng quips nervously that the ever-cruel Zhang Yi apparently has no fondness for Colombians. by Mo panics, likening himself to a slave ready to be fed to sharks. This chapter marks a point of no return. Zhang Yi's ruthless readiness to execute fugitives terrifies even cooperative survivors. Chapter 8:18. It's difficult to raise a baby. Zhu Yonk finally has to care for the crying infant, Tommy, herself, as Zhang Yi and the crew watch with amusement. Zhang Yi lectures her on how easy children are, then saunters away. Left to her own devices, Zhu flounders. Zhou Kur briefly instructs her, cook rice porridge, make makeshift cloth diapers, then departs. Moments later the baby wails so ferociously that Zhu opens the door to find the bedding soaked with urine and excrement. Horrified at the stench, she flees into the hallway, retching. Nevertheless, Zhu steels herself and returns to change the messy diaper. She collapses in tears as her hands instantly become wet with filth, a humiliating rite of passage. Zhang Yi, overhearing the chaos, laughs heartily while sipping tea in the lounge. He even turns to Zhou Kur and jokes about predicting how long Zhu will take to finish the chore. This chapter highlights Zhu's utter cluelessness about childcare and Zhang's merciless enjoyment of her discomfort. Chapter 8:19, Elsewhere. Li Zhongyu finally gives Zhang Yi the mysterious Yellowstone he has acquired. Zhang Yi coolly takes it, sensing residual power but modest value, and tucks it away. He asks only that Li Zhongyu keep it secret and cooperate for safe passage. Li, relieved, agrees. Relieved of further bother, Li realizes Zhang Yi's ambivalence. Zhang is curious about the source of God's stone, but above all impatient, he hates trouble and has no grand cause to pursue. As the Jinfeng turns toward Huashu, Zhang Yi remarks that the return trip will take weeks, while living conditions on board settle into a rigid hierarchy. Zhang Yi and Zhou Kur dine sumptuously, but ordinary Huashu survivors are rationed, meet only every few days. Zhu Young's next demand shatters the uneasy peace. She insists Sun Wanqi be given private quarters as well, to help watch the baby. Zhang Yi scorns her request, taunting that Zhu herself should try living in a sweltering cargo hold. Sun Wanqi, protected by influential family ties, however forces Zhu's hand. She gets a room, actually a filthy storage closet, after Zhu petitions Zhang Yi, but the bedroom comes with diapers piled up, making Su nausea. A confrontation is brewing between the two young women. Zhu must face her own limited influence and Su's bold pride. Zhang Yi's disdainful laughter from afar foreshadows more conflict.